Moving on in the 2021 season previews, we have the Carolina Hurricanes. And yes, I'm wearing a Santa hat. We have a lot of questions regarding these Carolina Hurricanes, and also, they're a pretty underrated team when you look at this. And, you look at them heading into a pretty stacked southern, sort of central division, playing against the Lightning, the Panthers, teams like that. It's going to be interesting on how they're going to pull this off, but they are a pretty big underdog team. So let's see what's going to happen in the 2020-21 season for the Carolina Hurricanes, in my opinion. First off, if you haven't already, please go make sure to go and subscribe to the channel. If you're a Hurricanes fan just watching around this video, welcome, glad you're here. Hope you can subscribe to the channel, the button's below, trying to get to 600 subscribers by the end of the year, trying to really grind on this. We're going to get all these out. I've never completed an actual playlist or a specific series like this in my entire life, and I want to do it. I want to be the first one to cover all the teams. And, I've already covered 5 of them at the time of recording this video, and this is only the 6th. And I'm very excited for the more teams to cover, because this is going to be entertaining. But anyways, also, if you haven't, please go check out the links in the description below. That includes Twitter, Instagram, Discord, and Titkok. Sorry if you hear my phone vibrating. I keep that there in case there's any news happening, even though it is 9:27 p.m. on a Monday night. Anyways, let's take a look at what happened last season with the Carolina Hurricanes. Last season, they had 68 games played in a shortened season, by the way. Had 38 wins, 25 losses, and 5 overtimes for 81 points. Now, they were 4th in the Metro Division. That's a huge thing. And I thought I mentioned this here. They were 9th in the NHL, at 4th in their division. That just shows how tough the Metro Division is. And the Metro Division is probably one of the toughest divisions in the entire NHL. They beat the New York Rangers in the play-in round in just 3 games. Pretty much just made a mockery of them. I sound like a 80-year-old, but they pretty much made a mockery of the New York Rangers. Like, they destroyed them. And then they lost to the Boston Bruins in an arguably very controversial first-round play-in round. You could say there was a lot of things happening with that. Maybe I'll bring my boy on, Matthew Kine from Latang at 58. Check him out. He's in my channel descriptions and people you subscribe to. That would be very cool if you could do that as well. I mean, it was a very controversial series. The refs, some people were saying they're pretty bad. Rod Brindamore went off on the refs. Players were opting out. It was an insane series. Probably one of the most craziest series I've ever seen in my life. So, the Hurricanes, prior to this, they have really not made the playoffs much. They went 9 straight years without making the playoffs, which is the one that tied Buffalo for second in the longest drought. So that's one of the unbelievable things there. And you look at that, they finally become a consistent team. I look at this and I say, you know what? They made the playoffs 2 years in a row for the first time ever, I think. They're doing pretty well, and I think that they're going to make it next season. Although they did lose some people, I think they still made some pretty good key additions that can help out the team in their ways in the future. There's some such good players on this team that I'm just honestly excited, and you should be excited as well. So who did the Carolina Hurricanes lose? They lost a total of 4 players. And honestly, you look at these aren't huge deals. These aren't huge problems. They lost Justin Williams, who I think that made people just sad in all honesty. They lost him to retirement. I knew he was going to retire. He was towards the end of his career. Anyways, they lost Joel Edmondson due to a trade with the Montreal Canadiens. I keep forgetting he's in Montreal, which is the funny thing. And Trevor Van Gaal as well, another defenseman there. So they did lose a lot of defenders. And Sami Vatanen as well, who was a rental, in all honesty. He played a few games in the playoffs for the Hurricanes, and then just free agency. We'll see if he re-signs with a team. I'm sure he will. I think Vatanen will find a team. But, these guys aren't really big deals. Vatanen was a rental. Van Riemsdyk was a third pairing. Edmondson was probably the biggest deal because he was second pairing, and Justin Williams was just really, chemistry-wise, was really what affected the team, in all honesty. So, yeah, there really wasn't that big of a deals for some of these players that they lost. And really, in all honesty, they replaced some of these players fairly quickly when you look at their key arrivals. Moving on to the key arrivals category, as I said earlier, there really wasn't that many big deal guys that they got in free agency. They were pretty quiet for the most part. They got Jesper Fast as probably a third line winger, honestly, and he he may play maybe even fourth line at times, maybe even be a fill-in. Because honestly, there's really no place you can put him that would be solidifiedly good. But he still is a great bottom six pairing forward. And then you also got center Joachim Ryan, however you want to say it. I think that he's probably going to be a fill-in or a depth player. In all honesty, I don't think he's really going to play much of a huge role for Carolina in this offseason. And that's all they got. They didn't really get that many huge players in the offseason, as I said. They really kept quiet, and they honestly want to stay worried about the contracts that are expiring next year, which is something Vancouver is not doing, in Sebastian Aho. Moving on to the offensive projected lineups here. This team looks stacked. You look at all these players in the center ways, the left wing ways, the right wing ways. This keeps getting in my ear. This team looks really good. So on the left wing side, you have Andrei Svechnikov. No surprise there. Ryan Dzingel as your second line guy. Nino Niederreiter as your third line. And then Jordan Martinook as your fourth. And then Michael McCormick as your fill-in. I apparently couldn't talk there for a second. Svechnikov, you look at these top four defenders, these guys are pretty good. These guys have put up the offense that they want. Svechnikov is Svechnikov. Ryan Dzingel has shown that he can play pretty well in that offensive side. Niederreiter has been disappointing at times. I think, honestly, that's probably the next person to leave. I mean, I'm sure someone wants them to leave. And then there's Jordan Martinook as well, and McCormick is the fill-in. On the center side of things, you have Sebastian Aho as that first center. No surprise there. Vincent Trocheck is your second. Jordan Staal as your third-line center. Honestly, I can see Jordan Staal moving up to second. That's a possibility. And then Warren Foegele as your third. And you really got a pretty good depth. I can't say depth. I can't. Pretty good fill-in guys. Devin Shore, Clark Bishop, Morgan Geekie, who will get a shot this season, and Stevie Lorenz. So I think all those guys will get shots at some point this season. I mean, Aho, a monster center. Trocheck is pretty underrated, not going to lie. And then Jordan Stahl's pretty good as well. And then there's Warren Foegele, who has also been pretty underrated as well. On the right wing side of things, you have Teuvo Teravainen as your first line right wing. You have Martin Necas as your second line right wing. You have Jesper Fast as third, and then McGinn as your fourth line. And then you have Bracco, Smallman, and Rampal as your fill-in players. So that right wing side looks pretty good also. McGinn has shown times that he can play pretty good fourth line. Fast, a new addition. This team looks pretty dang good. I think I would be pretty excited if I were a Carolina Hurricanes fan. And this is just the offense too. The defense is also really good. Now on the defensive side of the Carolina Hurricanes, we'll go lefty by righty. First line, you have Slavin, unexpected there. You have Brady Shea, and then you have Jake Gardner as your top three pairing defenders on the left side. And then you have Jake Bean, Ryan, and then you have Gustav Forsling as your other three fill-in players as well. So you still have a pretty stacked defensive left wing side there, and I think that Jake Bean will get his chances too. Maybe Forsling a little bit. You know, this team looks pretty good on that left side, and especially with Slavin, Shea, and Gardner. Pretty good. Right defensive side, you have Dougie Hamilton. No surprise there. If he can stay healthy, Brandon Pesce, pretty good as well. And then you got Hayden Fleury, and then you got McKeon as your fill-in player. So this team looks pretty good on that side as well. Yeah. If you're a Carolina Hurricanes fan, that's another thing to be excited about. Your defense looks pretty good. I mean, this team is kind of like a dark horse. I put them in there with Montreal as a dark horse for a Stanley Cup. And then, of course, there is the goaltending, which has been pretty fun to watch. So first here, you have Peter Mrazek as your first goaltender. You know, pretty obvious. Pretty obvious he's going to be a starter. I think anyone could say that. And then David Ayres. James Reimer is your potential backup, but I could see Nigel. His name is so hard to pronounce. I'm so sorry. Negeldovich. He's gonna get so mad at me. But you know, those three goaltenders are very solid. I think Nedeljkovic will get his chances, and James Reimer is a very underrated goaltender. James Reimer is probably one of my favorite goalies. A lot. He's very underrated. He gets a lot of criticism. He's pretty good in my opinion. So, you know, you got David Ayres. Just kidding. And you have those three guys. So your goaltending is looking pretty good as well. And then finally here, you have the playoff prediction. Now, do I think the Carolina Hurricanes will make the 2021 Stanley Cup playoffs? The answer is likely yes, in all honesty. Although there are some pretty good teams in the division they're playing against, this is going to be interesting. Now, you look at that. Carolina, I may expect finishing top 3 or maybe potentially pushing for a wild card spot. That's really what I would see realistic, in all honesty. This team can make a run. They just need like the right time. And I think this year may not be the year that they make the run because they are playing in a very competitive division. I mean, they are anyways, but they're still pretty dang good. So I would be pretty excited if you're a Carolina Hurricanes fan. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank y'all for watching. If you enjoyed, please make sure to hit the subscribe button as we try to get 600 subscribers by the end of the year. Thank y'all for the constant support, and I'll see you guys in the Chicago Blackhawks preview.